Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the middle of the order. We are here, finally. One more day till some live regular season baseball. We're still 10 days away from the official opening day, but the Tokyo series is tomorrow. And those two games, Cubs and Dodgers. Am I going to wake up at 6 a.m. to watch them? I will sure try my best, but we're not here to be talking about that just yet. We gotta wait until Friday for that, but we are here to talk about the NL West, our final division in our DOPs, our divisions, outlooks, and predictions. We've done the AL West, we've done the NL Central, we've done the NL East, the AL East, the AL Central, and now here we are with the NL West, the sixth and final division in Major League Baseball. And this is going to be a great division this year. Honestly, the 1 through 4 can be very competitive. I think the 1 is a little bit over competitive. We'll be talking about all of that. So with that being said, no better time than the present. Let's start and jump right on in and talk about this one team, the number one team, not only in the NL West, but in baseball as a whole, the Los Angeles Dodgers. In case you missed last season, they were 98 and 64. They were 19th in starter ERA, 4th in relief ERA, and 2nd in runs scored. And they beat the Padres 3-2 in the NLDS. They beat the Mets 4-2 in the NLCS and went on to beat the Yankees 4-1 in the World Series. They won 11 games, lost 5 in the postseason, and brought home a shiny trophy for the collection. The World Series champions, they're second in the last 4 years. Of course, they won in 2020. That was the COVID year. This time, they got it legit, essentially, if you don't count the COVID year for whatever reason. But the Dodgers are here. They're here to stay. Last year, they brought in Ohtani. This year, they brought in even more guys. They brought back a lot of guys. Before we talk about those guys, they lost a couple guys as well. Jack Flaherty and Walker Buehler, 2 starting pitchers, no longer with the Dodgers. Kevin Kiermaier, Daniel Hudson, Joe Kelly, Brent Honeywell, Ryan Brazier, and Gavin Lux, all no longer with the team, but they do make some additions. They extend Tommy Edman 5 years, first and foremost. They brought back Teoscar Hernandez. They brought back Blake Trinan. They brought back KK Hernandez as well as Clayton Kershaw. And that's not on top of the guys they brought back, because they bring in Blake Snell, Michael Conforto, Hai-Seung Kim, who's not even going to be on the roster to start the year, Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, and Rockies Sasaki. This kid is electric, and boy, the Dodgers are loaded for the next couple of years. They've got all of this major league talent in the world that teams would dream of having. So much talent and so much money spent that you got players talking about, or you got teams talking about, bringing the salary cap into baseball, and how much is too much. And let's be honest, this is a little much. But if we learned from last year, Dodgers without starting pitching, a lot of guys were hurt. A lot of guys are still hurt, but it is a lot of talent. I mean, Ryan Brazier had no reason to leave this team, but there was just not enough roster space to bring in all the guys they want to bring in to make this team. So, they ended up having to trade him to the Cubs just to make spots on the 40-man roster, on the 26-man roster, which, that will be coming out shortly to, get ready for the Tokyo series. So it's been a lot of stuff here for the Dodgers here. The rotation right now is as followed: Yoshinobu, Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki. Those 2 guys are getting the starts tomorrow and on Wednesday. Then you're followed by Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, and Dustin May. Of course, I don't know how the Dodgers will do this because, they're playing a Tokyo series. They could pitch Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki. You have a week off before actual opening day. You can pitch Yoshinobu and Roki once again before guys like Snell, Glasnow, and Dustin May even get a start. So we'll have to see how the Dodgers end up with that. The lineup is as follows. Shohei Ohtani right now listed as the one as the DH. Mookie Betts, the shortstop, is batting second, although it was announced yesterday that he will be sick, or he has an illness of some sort and will not be playing in the 2 games in the Tokyo series, but he is essentially in the lineup for, I assume, opening day afterwards. Freddie Freeman as the 3 is listed as the first baseman. Teoscar Hernandez, the 4 in right field. Max Muncy, the third baseman, bats 5th. Will Smith, the catcher, batting 6th. Michael Conforto in left field, bats 7th. Tommy Edman plays second base, batting 8th. And James Outman, the center fielder who got sent down last year, he's back right now, listed as the center fielder, batting 9th. With a bench that follows as Austin Barnes, Miguel Rojas, Chris Taylor, and Kiki Hernandez. I assume with Betts out, Rojas would get those starts at shortstop, but that will remain to be seen. The bullpen has plenty of names, but to single out a couple guys, Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, Alex Vesia, Anthony Banda, 4 of the guys there who do it for them. But if you're thinking that you're missing some players here, well, I am, and some of them are on the IL, such as Tony Gonsolin, Clayton Kershaw, River Ryan, Emmett Sheehan, Gavin Stone, Brusdar Graterol, Michael Kopech, and Evan Phillips. You have as good as a rotation and bullpen on the IL than you do on the actual roster. Of course, so much talent that it doesn't even matter. They got guys and guys for days. One guy goes down, they've got 2 guys to replace them. If you take a look ahead into 2026, Michael Conforto, Kirby Yates, Clayton Kershaw, Kiki Hernandez, Austin Barnes, Miguel Rojas, Michael Kopech, and Dustin May are all free agents. That's a healthy list of guys and some important guys at that. They also have club options for Chris Taylor for $12 million, which, depending on how his season goes, will most likely get declined. Max Muncy for $10 million and Alex Vesia for $3.5 million. So these Dodgers, very good. They're here to stay. They are the team to beat, not only in that NL West, but in baseball as a whole. But it is the NL West that will have to face the Dodgers the most, and their biggest rival, essentially, in this division, the San Diego Padres. How about San Diego last year? It was a nice season for them as well. 93-69. That is pretty good. They were 13th in starter ERA, 11th in relief ERA, 8th in runs scored. They finished 5 games behind the Dodgers. They made it very close within that last 2 weeks of the season, but eventually fall to the hands of the mighty Dodgers. They beat the Braves in the NL wildcard as the 4th seed, 2-0 there. And then they unfortunately lost to the Dodgers 3-2 in the NLDS. They could not do it. That series, though, was very good. I think that was more of a World Series, that 5-game series, than the actual Dodgers and Yankees. The Padres put up quite a fight, and it came down to that final game, and it just didn't have it. So unfortunately, Dodgers take that game. And if the Padres win in Game 5 there, I think the Padres beat the Yankees in the World Series. Or the Mets, either or. It would not have been the Yankees, and Padres looked pretty damn good. They do lose some players, though. Tanner Scott is gone. He's gone to the Dodgers in the division. Nick Ahmed, Jurickson Profar, Kyle Higashioka, Martin Perez, Donovan Solano, David Peralta, and Ha-Seong Kim all no longer with the Padres. They had a pretty quiet offseason. Besides that, they did keep Elias Diaz for the catcher position. They bring in Connor Joe and Jason Hayward. They add Nick Pivetta and Kyle Hart. And then some non-roster invitee guys, some fun names like Yuli Gurriel, the 40-something-year-old, Jose Iglesias, Mr. Oh My God Magic for the Mets, Nico Goodrum, Martin Maldonado, Mike Brasseur, Gavin Sheets. So a bunch of fun and interesting names there for the Padres. But besides those guys, it really is Nick Pivetta, etc. Jason Hayward is up there in age. What does he have left? Connor Joe, is with the Pirates. Has he got anything as a backup outfielder, really? So we'll have to see how that goes. The rotation has got some guys in it. Dylan Cease, Michael King as a 1-2 punch is nasty. Yu Darvish, the guy with 100+ pitches. Like, this guy has a pitch for anything and any grip he's got. He's a dog. Nick Pivetta, and then Steven Kolek is the name listed in the back end of that rotation. The lineup has Luis Arias at first base, Fernando Tatis Jr., the guy in right field, Jackson Merrill, the guy who could have been the Rookie of the Year last year had it not been for Paul Skeens. He plays center field and bats third, with Manny Machado, the third baseman, batting behind him. Jake Cronenworth, the second baseman, bats fifth, with Xander Bogaerts, the shortstop, batting sixth. They have Jose Iglesias listed as the DH with a non-roster invitee deal. Remember, minor league deal for him. Jason Hayward in left field bats eighth, and then Elias Diaz, the catcher, batting ninth, with a bench that has Luis Campusano, who a guy that I love. Connor Joe, Iguri Rosario, and Tyler Wade make up the rest of the bench. The bullpen has a lot of fun names. Robert Suarez, one of my sneaky favorite closing pitchers in the game right now. Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada, Yuki Matsui, Wandy Peralta, Kyle Hart, among others. They've got some names. The IL has two important starters, Joe Musgrove and Matt Waldron, the knuckleballer. I'm not sure if Musgrove will be around much for 2025, so we'll have to see how that goes for him. For 2026, those free agents that they have listed here, Jason Hayward, Luis Arias, and Dylan Cease are two big names for the Padres. They also have some club options for Kyle Hart for $5 million and Tyler Wade for $1 million, and then mutual options from Michael King for $15 million and Elias Diaz for $7 million. So not only could they lose Luis Arias, but that 1-2 starter punch that I talked about with Dylan Cease and Michael King is essentially both on the table, because if Michael King has a very strong season, he might decline that mutual option and seek a higher value deal elsewhere. 15 mil is a lot, but if he has a strong season, he could be looking at 20-25 mil. So something to keep in mind there for the Padres as we go into the season. Moving on now, let's talk about a sneaky team in the NL West, a team that has a chance to be sneaky, the Arizona Diamondbacks, who last year finished 89-73. They were 27th in starter ERA, was not good there. They were 25th in relief ERA, even worse there essentially. And they finished first in runs scored. They scored the most runs out of any other team in the league. They finished 9 games back of the Dodgers in the division and 0 games back of the wild card. They were tied with both the Mets and the Braves, however, lost in the tiebreaker to both those teams. So they finished with the same record as the 5 and 6 seeds, just couldn't beat those teams to get them into the postseason. Very unfortunate, because they were looking pretty good at the end of the season here. But I think they're, depending on these moves here, this team can still be locked in for a good season. They lose guys like Paul Sewald, Kevin Newman, Josh Bell, Christian Walker, and Jock Peterson. They bring in guys such as Josh Naylor, Corbin Burns. They keep Randall Grichuk. They bring in Kendall Graveman. And how about these non-roster invitee guys? Trey Mancini, Garrett Hampson, and Shelby Miller could make big impacts if they so choose. The rotation for Arizona has Corbin Burns listed as the A. Sorry, Zach Gallen, you are the number 2 guy here. Morel Kelly listed as the 3, with Eduardo Rodriguez as the 4, and then Brandon Pfaadt as the 5. This could be a sneaky top 5 rotation in baseball. If all of these guys are right, I've seen how good some of these players can be. This rotation could get nasty. The lineup has Corbin Carroll leading it off, playing right field. Can he have a rebound season? Ketel Marte at second base, batting second. Josh Naylor, the new first baseman, bats third, with Lourdes Gurriel Jr. in left field, batting fourth. Jake McCarthy behind him in center, batting fifth. Eugenio Suarez, the third baseman, bats sixth. Pavin Smith, the DH, batting seventh, with Gabriel Moreno behind him as the catcher, bats eighth, with Geraldo Perdomo, who got a nice extension this offseason as well. The shortstop bats ninth. For the bench, you have Jose Herrera, Garrett Hampson as a non-roster invitee deal, Randall Grichuk, and Alec Thomas. For the bullpen, they've got some notable names, some names that I remember from their World Series run back in 2023. AJ Puck listed as the closer. Justin Martinez kind of showed up last year and he was filthy. You got Kevin Ginkel, Ryan Thompson, Joe Mantiply still around there. Shelby Miller, the non-roster invitee deal I mentioned they added, he is listed as an option in the bullpen, as well as Jordan Montgomery, a starter who has been so not himself since that 2023 World Series, winning team with the Rangers, how good he was there. Came over to Arizona, and these last 2 seasons been tough for him. And I say last 2, but it's basically just been last season and spring training so far. He has not looked great. He's listed in the bullpen, not the rotation. Guys on the IL, they have Blaze Alexander and Kendall Graveman listed as guys on the IL, so we'll have to see what they, when they can come back and make impacts for the team. And if you take a look ahead into 2026, Jordan Montgomery, Eugenio Suarez, Merrill Kelly, Zach Gallen, and Josh Naylor are all free agents. They also have a mutual option for Randall Grichuk for $5 million, as well as one for Kendall Graveman for $5 million. So some decisions to be made for Arizona. With 2 of their top 3 starters hitting the market next year. This is a huge opportunity and a big year for Arizona to make a difference. So that's something to keep an eye out for as that 2025 plays on. Because if you get to the deadline and they're last in division, second last in division, you could see those guys potentially getting moved. Moving on now, we've got the San Francisco Giants, who finished 4th in the division last year, 1 game under 500. They were 80-82, 18th in starter ERA, 15th in relief ERA, 17th in runs. They finished 18 games back on the division and 9 games back of the wild card. Essentially, and if I'm, maybe I'm wrong with saying this, but kind of the most mediocre team in baseball last year. They were pretty middle of the pack. They had a couple of hot streaks, a couple of cold streaks, but for the most part, it seemed like every game they won, they lost the next day or something along the lines. You win 2, you lose 2. You win 3, you lose 1, you win 1, you lose 3. Like, it was just some sort of mix. The players, none of the Giants really stood out as making this big, gigantic leap. They had some young talent kind of take some steps forward. They had some veteran guys who they've counted on for years struggle. So it was a very weird year for San Francisco. They don't lose too much. They lose Mark Canha. They lose Michael Conforto to the Dodgers. They lose Blake Snell to the Dodgers, who declined his player option. And then they traded Taylor Rogers away. So, the brothers get separated as well. So both brother pairings got separated. Taylor and Tyler Rogers from the Giants separated. Josh and Bo Naylor from the Guardians separated. So look at that. They bring in Oslevis Basabe in a trade deal. They signed Justin Verlander. They bring over Sam Huff. They bring over Lou Trevino on a non-roster invitee deal. But they finally landed their big fish. It seemed like every year the Giants were pushing players and trying to get their guy. They were so close on Correa, but decided not to go for him. They thought they had Judge, but it was just Arson Judge. They've been close on a lot of top free agents, but they get their guy, Willy Adames, on a 7-year deal. He is the big move for San Francisco. How much of a difference can he make as he heads to the Bay Area? The rotation is solid. Logan Webb, the guy who eats innings, is the ace of that staff. Justin Verlander is the second guy. Robbie Ray, third. Jordan Hicks, and then Hayden Birdsong is listed as the 5 guy right now. That is what the rotation looks like for San Francisco. The lineup has Lamont Wade Jr., first baseman, batting first. Willy Adames, the shortstop, bats second. Jung Ho Lee, the center fielder. Can he stay healthy and put together a nice season? High hopes for him this season. He's a center fielder, batting third. Matt Chapman, third baseman, bats fourth. Heliot Ramos in left field bats fifth. Patrick Bailey, the catcher, batting sixth. Wilmer Flores at the DH spot, bats seventh. Mike Yastrzemski in right field, bats eighth. And then Tyler Fitzgerald, who appeared on the scene, had a great season last year. He's listed as the second baseman, batting ninth, with a bench of Sam Huff, Gerard Encarnacion, Brett Wisely, and Luis Matos. The bullpen, Ryan Walker, Tyler Rogers, Lou Trevino, that non-roster invitee deal. And then Camille Duvall is listed as well as some other guys right now. Duvall, definitely that guy who struggled last year. Oh, I think he got sent down at one point. I kind of forget that. He was really bad. He got taken out of his closer role. And right now, Ryan Walker is listed as the closer. So we'll see if Duvall can earn that role back. The only guy on the IL for the Giants is Tom Murphy. So something that they'd have to keep an eye on for a little bit. And then for their free agent class in 2026, Justin Verlander, Wilmer Flores, Mike Yastrzemski, Tyler Rogers, Lamont Way Jr., all free agents. They also have a club option for Tom Murphy for $4 million. So some news there for the Giants and some important free agents potentially hitting the market after this season. And with that being said, let's talk quickly about our last team from this NL West division, your Colorado Rockies. And it's going to be, at the very least, a tough season for the Rockies, who finished 61 and 101 last year. 2 games over that triple-digit mark there. They were dead last in starter ERA, 30th. They were also 30th in relief ERA. Nothing new there for the Rockies. They were 19th in runs scored. They finished 37 games back of the division and 28 games back of the wild card, and it's likely going to be more of the same for this year. The guys they lost, Daniel Bard, Cal Quantrill, Brendan Rodgers, Justin Lawrence, and then Charlie Blackmon retires as well. So some change for Colorado with Blackmon leaving is going to be that big, hard to get your head around because he's been such a staple there for such a long time. So it's going to be weird seeing him, not playing, with at all, but especially with the Rockies, it's going to be weird not having him lead off opening day. Who are they bringing in? They're bringing in Owen Miller. They're bringing in Kyle Farmer, Thiago Estrada, Scott Alexander, and then there was too many, minor league deals and fun guys to name, but there are some interesting names here that the Colorado Rockies could bring into their opening day roster if they so choose. Right now, their starting rotation is listed as Kyle Freeland, Herman Marquez, Ryan Feltner, Antonio Sensatella, and then Bradley Blalock, I believe is the pronunciation there. He's listed as the 5 guy there. That's what the rotation stands for Colorado. Looking at their lineup, Brenton Doyle, the center fielder, he leads off. Ryan McMahon, the third baseman, bats second. Ezekiel Tovar, the shortstop, bats third. Chris Bryant, sad man, DH, he bats fourth. Thiago Estrada, second baseman, batting fifth. Michael Tolia, prospect potential, first baseman, batting sixth. Nolan Jones, the left fielder, bats seventh. Jordan Beck in right field bats 8th, and then Jacob Stallings, the catcher, bats 9th. The bench has Hunter Goodman, Kyle Farmer, Sean Bouchard, and Sam Hillard listed, but there is no backup catcher, so is Jacob Stallings really playing all 162 right now? So that might change. The bullpen, Tyler Kinley listed as the closer. You got Scott Alexander in there. They also have Diego Castillo, who's one of those minor league non-roster invitee deals that I mentioned. Besides that, a bunch of names that I'm not too familiar with. And on the IL, they have Austin Gomer listed, starting pitcher. So we'll see, what his 2025 looks like. For 2026, the Rockies are losing out on Herman Marquez, Scott Alexander, and Austin Gomer. Those 3 guys, free agents. They also have a club option for Tyler Kinley for $5 million. So depending on how he does in the closer role, we'll see how that goes and plays out. And then a mutual option for Estrada, which is $7 million. There, Estrada there. They have a mutual option for Kyle Farmer for $4 million, as well as one for Jacob Stallings for $2 million. So that is what the Colorado Rockies, look like and look for 2025 here. I'm not sure if I've ever said 2024, but I might have at some point in any one of these DOPs. Anyways, let's get into the outlook for this NL West division. Let's start with those Rockies because, like I mentioned kind of earlier, beginning of the episode, There really isn't any expectations for Colorado. For me, they're one of the three teams alongside the White Sox and the Marlins that I have almost drop dead zero hope for in 2025. When it comes to playoffs, when it comes to the postseason, it's going to be next to near impossible for the Rockies to do anything, let alone to do it in the division. I mean, the Dodgers are just too good. The Padres have so much talent. Arizona's got pitching, and they've got so much, potential in their lineup. And the Giants are just kind of just more fun, I guess. The Rockies, there are some notable names, some fun guys here. Brenton Doyle, McMahon, Tovar, that top three we've seen, have some success. Michael Toglia, Nolan Jones, some top prospects who have had some success, but in more recent times last year were struggling. They could turn it around this year. I mean, there's still an option here. They play in Coors, one of the best hitter ballparks there is out there. The lineup will do well. It's how good is that rotation going to be? How good is the bullpen going to be? They're going to give up a bunch of runs. It's not going to go exactly as they want. And it's going to be a tough season. The 61 and 101, I mean, they might do better than that. They might, make it 65 wins and maybe have a little bit more of a difference there, but not enough to make any substantial impact in the postseason runnings. They're not going to be fighting for no wild card. And if they do, well, I'll eat my own words because that would be quite the sight. But the Rockies, not going to be much to cheer for in 2025 if if you want to win. But there is some individual success, some good stories there, and some players to like, such as Chris Bryant. How great would it be to see him turn his career around, get back to that MVP year, that Rookie of the Year, that 2015-2016 highlight, the golden days of prime Chris Bryant. Does he still have any talent left in that bat of his, in that glove of his? We'd have to see it this year. Otherwise, this contract could go down as one of the worst in Rockies history, maybe even in baseball history. So some guys to hope for, some guys to watch, but outside that, Colorado, going to be tough. The Giants, they've got some notable names here. They've got some fun guys. Justin Verlander, Hall of Famer, soon to be. What does he have left in the tank? Can he provide some, leadership and some tutelage for the rest of the guys there, those young guys in the rotation? What does Willy Adames have? Like right now, he and Chapman are like the stars of the team, kind of like when it comes to talent. Obviously, there are guys who have been around a lot longer, guys like Mike Yastrzemski, who has been a top player for a long time in Giants lore, Patrick Bailey, Heliot Ramos, the top prospects and everything there. So there are some guys to root for there as well. I think the Giants have an outside chance at making some noise in this division. Could something go wrong for the Padres or Arizona? Yeah, absolutely. I think the ceiling for the Giants here is third in the division. I would find it very difficult for both the Padres and Diamondbacks to be, playing in the mud too much this season to allow the Giants to get a chance to go for second in the division. So I think sitting fourth in the division is the most likely option for the Giants here and the most likely outcome. But third place is definitely on the table. And if they can get into third, could they compete for a wild card? Again, outside chance. Is it impossible? No, but you would need to see, Willy Adames with the same year last year. You would need to see Matt Chapman hit 30-plus home runs. You would need to see Jung Ho Lee healthy with a 330 average and, 15, 20 home runs. Like, you would need your offense to really click. You would need Logan Webb and Justin Verlander to stay healthy. Robbie Ray, same thing. So a lot does need to go right for the Giants to really have a strong chance at the division. Not division, at a wild card berth. But it is possible. I'm not going to count the Giants. Let's see them get off to a hot start in the season, and maybe they can make some noise. Arizona, this is kind of my team, I think, for this year. I mean, I like a lot of the guys here. Corbin Carroll, Rookie of the Year in 2023. He had a very much sophomore slump last year, but he started to find it a little bit, middle August, end of September. Entering September, and by that point it was just too late. They had played those games against the Braves and Mets, and by the time they caught up to them, even took the lead for a short little bit, were in that hunt for the wild card, and finishing tied and missing out by not even a game. They finished 0 games back. So you bring in Corbin Burns. I think, it's going to be weird. Christian Walker has kind of been a guy for Arizona and been a, fan favorite for a long time. To replace him with Josh Naylor, a little bit of a different story, but I think they added more than they lost. I think they have those talent. I think Josh Naylor could have a great season in Arizona. I think Lourdes is a top talent. Ketel Marte is like an underrated player. He is like, Ramirez is underrated, but he's still an elite player. I think Marte is underrated because people don't really sometimes classify him as one of the elite. He's been MLB's top 3 second baseman in baseball for the last 3 or 4 years. So he's a top talent. We got to start calling him what he is, and that is an elite player as well in the baseball league, Major League Baseball, of course. Zach Gallen and Eduardo Rodriguez, the rotation is sound, solid. Really excited for what Arizona can bring to the table in 2025. The Padres, it's always a little bit weird with teams like the Padres here where on paper, there is just so much talent, but every year, when you come into a season not having done too much in the offseason, the expectations can kind of feel a little low and a little down. They lost Tanner Scott, their elite closer, essentially. They lost Jurickson Profar, who had a career year. Guys like Martin Perez and Ha-Seong Kim, who had been an important part of the team for the last couple of years. So they lost some key members here. And to say that the best guy they signed was Nick Pivetta, and he's the 4th guy in the rotation, they really didn't do much at all this offseason. They signed Nick Pivetta, January, February. So it was a very late signing. For the longest time, they hadn't spent a single dollar. And then eventually brought in Connor Joe, Jason Hayward, which, a platoonish duo in left field to kind of replace Profar. Yeah, you're saving some money, but you have to compete with the Dodgers. And if you have an offseason where you sign Nick Pivetta and Hayward, and they have an offseason where they sign Blake Snell, they sign Roki Sasaki, Michael Conforto, they bring back Teoscar, and all blah, blah, blah. They sign everybody. So when you look at it that way, it's a down season for the Padres in the offseason department. But Tatis is still a top talent. Jackson Merrill, does he have a sophomore slump, or is he going to continue to excel? Manny Machado, same thing. Luis Arias, there's some guys who are very, I feel good about for 2025. Dylan Cease, Michael King, Yu Darvish, an elite trio right there. So, there's still a lot of hope for San Diego. I think the fans would have loved to see a little bit more aggressiveness in the offseason. Especially when you're, seeing the Dodgers do all this stuff. And speaking of the Dodgers, it's one thing, this is crazy. The Dodgers, what they did this offseason is crazy. They bring in Roki Sasaki. They bring in Michael Conforto, Blake Snell, Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates. They just got, they got Blake Snell from the Giants. They got Tanner Scott from the Padres, Michael Conforto, the Giants. They kind of just go after the play of the top talents in their division, and they can do this because of how much talent they have. People want to play for the Dodgers. That's why they can do that. Hell, they extended Tommy 5 years extension. He's batting 8th in the projected lineup. So, there's just so much talent to go around. Obviously, Ohtani's the GOAT. What does Roki Sasaki have? Because he's going to be my pick for Rookie of the Year probably. I love this kid ever since I saw him in the World Baseball Classic back a few years ago. So, it's... if the Dodgers don't make the World Series again, I think it's a down year. And obviously that's a obvious statement. If they win the World Series, the only way it could be a better season this year is if they also win the World Series. But they could have a strong year and make the playoffs and make it to the make it to the Championship Series, the World Series, and still have a positive year. Obviously not for their standards, but if they don't make the postseason, if they don't win the division, we're talking about some sort of catastrophic collapse because there's no reason to do that. Even if they have, more injuries, they have guys to replace those injuries. I mentioned they signed Ha-Seong Kim, and they're sending him to AAA. He's playing okay in spring training. He could easily be that second baseman, that guy, and then you move Edman to outfield, and there's options there for the Dodgers. So let's say Tommy Edman goes down or someone, gets hurt. There's talent in that AAA, in that farm system that the Dodgers can bring up. So there's really no excuses. I'm not going to take the injuries for an excuse. They have an IL of Gosling, Kershaw, Ryan, Sheehan, Stone, Gatterall, Kopech, Phillips, 8 elite pitchers essentially. But they still have a rotation of Yamamoto, Sasaki, Snell, Glasnow, May. They still have a bullpen with Scott, Yates, Bandan, Vesia. Like, injuries is not an excuse. Like, there is no excuse. Like, even if Ohtani gets hurt at some point this season, they have Betts, they have Freeman, they have guys who are MVP winners, who are World Series champions, who are home run derby champions, who are, like Triple Crown. Like, it's just up and down this lineup, the 1 through 26, stars on display. So if the Dodgers don't win division, like, it's a bad year. But hey, I also expect them to not be as good as people are saying. People are out here saying they're going to win 130 games. Like, I'll be shocked if that happens. I think anyone should be shocked if that happens, because realistically, they'd be, I wouldn't say lucky to win over 100, but it's not easy to win 100 games in baseball. So, you know what? Like, I would say there are ceilings at 108, maybe. It's there, but I mean, they finished last year with 98 and 64, and they have a very similar team. They have Ohtani and Betts and Freeman still, and they had Glasnow healthy, starting things in Yamamoto. Like, yeah, you're adding Sasaki, yeah, you're adding Snell. Lineup is still relatively the same, just with an addition of Conforto. How much does that make a difference? So, I mean, they won 98 last year. Realistically, they're going to win about 100, 102 this year as like a good average. Of course, they could lose more if things go badly. They could win more if everything goes peachy. So, very interested to see what the Dodgers can bring to the table, but it's going to be a lot of wins. Take the money lines on the Dodgers, bet the house. For legal reasons, don't do that. I'm not responsible for anything that you do betting-wise, but I mean, just it's going to be a strong year for the Dodgers. Have the expectation that they're going to be the World Series champions and see where they'll make their mistakes. We've seen this Dodgers team before last year, constantly make the playoffs and constantly make mistakes to the Diamondbacks and to other teams. Like the Dodgers have, lost in the postseason. It's very hard to do it. So to do it back-to-back, it's very likely with the talent they have and on paper, they're the best, but it's still not a, given for them this season. So I think people need to remember that, keep that in mind as the season takes off here with baseball happening tomorrow. So watch out there. Dodgers should be primed, ready to go. Padres, Arizona, how can they compete? The Giants on that outside chance, and Colorado here for the vibes. Let's move into now, I guess, the over and unders for the NL West here. We'll go in reverse order here. The Colorado Rockies sit at an over and under at 59.5. I think this is a fantastic line because 60 games, for the Rockies, 61 wins last year. 60 wins seems very doable, but you're also in a division with the teams that I've mentioned, so it's very likely they could lose that. Like 58 games kind of seems likely as well. And I mean, there's some hope there, but the pitching and like 30th in starter ERA, 30th in relief ERA, they always give up runs. And I'm going to say the under on the Rockies, not because I don't believe in their players, but just because I think there's just so much talent in the NL West that when it comes to those division matchups, when it comes to Rockies versus Padres and Rockies versus Dodgers, they play 11 times. The Rockies will be lucky to win 2 of those games. So when you add that already up, like you're already at 20, 30 losses on the season just from your division alone. So, not a testament to the Rockies because I think Brenton Doyle and McMahon and Tovar and Jones and all those guys, they can win games, but I believe in the other teams in the NL West a lot more. So Rockies, I will take the under. It's a slight under, 57-58 wins. That's where I'm sitting with Colorado right now. The Giants, they're over under 79.5. A great line once again, and I think just it's the same thing. I think the Giants can be good. I think they have the talent to be good. Willie Adames can be a guy. Jung-Ho Lee hopefully is. But those 3 teams ahead of them, I think, are just a lot better. And I think the Giants overall in the NL with, teams that have to face in the Central and how they'll fare, their games in the East. I'm going to take the under. Again, it's going to be a slight under, 76, 77 wins maybe for the Giants. I would love for these teams to prove me wrong, and hopefully they will, but I just have too much faith in the teams ahead. And speaking of that, we got the Arizona Diamondbacks, who sit at 86.5. I think Corbin Carroll's going to have that bounce back season. He's going to become a star for this Diamondbacks team. I think Marte is already one of them. I think Burns, Gallen, and Kelly, it will be one of the best trios in baseball. You throw in Erod and Fott at the end of that. Can Montgomery figure it out? There's so much talent. I love this Arizona team. I will take the over. I think they're sitting at 90-something wins. Padres are a very interesting one. I think it's easy because I feel like the line is a little low. It says at 85.5. And I get it. They didn't make those moves in the offseason that we were expecting and that fans wanted. But they still have a top 5 of Arias, Tatis, Merrill, Machado, and Cronenworth. That's not even including Bogarts. You know, the bullpen is still solid. The rotation is great. Cease and King are elite. So at 85.5, I think they might finish third in the division. But I will take the over on the Padres at 85.5, which brings us to the big dogs, the Los Angeles Dodgers, which have an outrageous over and under of 104.5. Can they win 105 games? Absolutely. Can they lose more than 104 games? Hell yeah. It really is a coin flip here. And it all kind of comes down to, hey, this team will be great, but what about injuries? What about, other teams? What about luck of baseball? You could put the Dodgers and the White Sox and make them play 162 games. The Dodgers won't win 162. The Dodgers won't win 150. The Dodgers won't win 140. I think that you'll set out the 130 number, especially if you take the Dodgers team this year versus the White Sox team last year. There's so much talent, though. It's so hard for me to just say yes or no. And I wrote down, when I was doing all of my research and getting everything done and kind of making the script of how I do my episodes here, I put the over when I did these Dodgers. But now I'm thinking back to it, I'm just like, I think the under now. I don't know. I don't know, guys. What did I think? Over or under for the Dodgers at 104.5. Comment down below what you think the Dodgers will win. I mean, 105 games is just so much. That is a lot of games, but we've seen teams win that before. We've seen it happen. Last year it didn't, but that doesn't mean it can't. Chances are, because it didn't happen last year, that it's going to be crazy again this year. I think last year was the first year in the 2020s where there wasn't a 100-team winner, 100-game winner outside of COVID. So, I mean, the chances of it happening this year, I think, are very likely. And if I think of a team to do that, it's going to be the Dodgers. So, yeah, I think I'm going to stay with my over 104.5. Yeah, I think they can win 106. I think they'll do that. They better do that. I mean, they have the talent to do that. They have the talent to be the best team in baseball history. They have the talent to win 120 games. So, I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I think I will take it over on the Dodgers 108 games, 109 maybe. I'll be very shocked if they can go 110, 115 even. But we'll have to see. Dodgers fans, you're lucky. You have a great team. You got great players to cheer for. And yeah, that's how the over and unders look for the NL West, and that is how the NL West overall looks and shapes. Guys, we have done it. The DOPs are done. 6 divisions up, 6 divisions down, 0 divisions left to go. And that just means one thing and one thing only. Baseball is here. On the East Coast, where I am here sitting to you right now, it is March 17th. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're talking about the first regular season baseball game, the Tokyo Series, Dodgers and Cubs. That is on Tuesday. They have one more on Wednesday, same start time at 6 a.m. And right now, as it sits, we are 10 days away from opening day on the 27th. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to my opening day. Very excited for that. Very excited for baseball as a whole. So for the schedule coming up, in case you haven't been hearing any recent episodes in my DOPs, This Friday, we'll be talking about kind of any last offseason news that still needs to, be addressed, anything that I think is important to mention, and we'll also be going over the Tokyo series. Then on Monday, this exact time, essentially next week, it's my prediction episode. I'm taking a look at my division winners. I'm taking a look at MVPs and Cy Youngs and rookies and all these things and expectations and hopes and predictions I have for the 2025 season. That will all be on Monday. And by the next time we get on Friday, the season will have started. Not sure if I'll do an episode that Friday because there'll only be the games on Thursday that have happened. So we might take that Friday off, and then essentially that first, series recap and that first baseball hoo-ha happens on March 31st, the Monday after that. So potential on the next Friday, we'll see. But we've got Tokyo series this Friday, predictions this Monday, essentially next week, and then opening day on the Thursday, the 27th. So very exciting stuff right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the DOPs are done. I appreciate you all. Thank you, everybody, so much. And I will see you next time.